We are back with another episode of the I Still Believe in Cleveland podcast, and we're going to talk some Antonio Callaway. Antonio Callaway news that he's going to be suspended at the beginning of the season. Dang, guys, we just went through all this. It's just been all happy days and good news associated with the Browns. And now Antonio Callaway is... he's peed hot on a drug test, and
yes.
It looks like he's going to be out for some of the games in the beginning of the season. Eric, let's start with you. You know, do the Browns want to go through this again with Callaway? Is there any reason to think that the situation is going to be different than history taught us?
The Browns might, but I surely don't. Obviously, let's start back in the history. Callaway's track record is not nearly as bad as Josh Gordon was. I believe he got kicked out of Baylor and Utah without successfully playing a game for Utah. Way to go, Josh Gordon. Callaway just didn't play his last year. I don't know if his junior or senior year. Regardless, he was. They both had allegations brought against them. We don't need to get into it, but Callaway was found not guilty, so he got his opportunity in the NFL, and like Josh Gordon, his second season will begin not playing games when you are healthy. Josh Gordon missed 2 games. Callaway's going to miss 4. So there's a lot of similarities there. Call me a jaded fan. I'm sick and tired of this. It's been every year since 2013, I think. Maybe you can throw in one season off that wasn't an issue. But if I were John Dorsey, I would say one more strike and you're out. You stay on the straight and narrow, great. If not, we selected you in the 4th round. That's a decent amount of capital to throw at a player, but it's not like a 1st or 2nd rounder. Josh Gordon's a 2nd round supplemental, so I think that's not tremendously. We can find other replacements elsewhere. I'm not saying Derek Willis or Jalen Strong are as talented as him, but if they are solid, reliable guys, I think we can get by this year. Maybe we can pick up another great receiver in the early rounds to replace him. He's a speedster. 2 other young guys, I have no clue if they're going to be better than him, but if they take that opportunity and run with it in the first 4 weeks and, something happens and they take his spot permanently, it is what it is. Ishmael Hyman or DJ Montgomery, I like to think if worse comes to worse, maybe Damon Giuseppe takes a spot with that last receiver spot. And, he is the same height. He's about 20 pounds lighter than Callaway. But at this point, thankfully, we have a much more talented roster now than we did 6 years ago when Josh Gordon was getting suspended and we had nobody else on the team. We had Miles Austin and a couple other guys I've never heard of. So, like I said, I'm kind of sick and tired of it. I guess I'll give him one more chance, but if he gets suspended one more time, I'm good. I'm done. And I'll see what Dorsey does, but it's not a good thing.
Man, if Eric hasn't heard of you on the Browns roster, you don't exist.
You don't
dude.
exist, man.
Dang, Drew. I don't even know. Does the NFL need to pass changes to their marijuana rules? I don't know if it's probably everyone's guess of what it is, but I don't know. Is this just silly to have this on a rule when so many states have this as a legal substance? Do you think anything's going to change there, or what do you think?
That's a totally different topic, right? I think that that
we're not talking politics. I'm sorry.
Right. The NFL should embrace. Something that has proven to be fairly effective at pain management without a whole bunch of side effects, right? I'm not going to get into legalization and all that stuff, but I don't think prohibition has ever been a good policy. And I mean, the NFL, I believe to this day, their policy is still like double what the Olympics have for their marijuana policy. I know this was true when Josh Gordon got popped. He had something like 0.08, and that's not like blood alcohol. That's like like you had marijuana at one point in your life and you smoked a bunch and it's still present anyway. So yeah, I think there's plenty of work that should be done in the next collective bargaining agreement. I think it's something the players should advocate for, and I think it's an easy thing for the owners to concede, assuming they get something else, which they will, right? So, I think this is an easy one in the next collective bargaining agreement. I think it makes a lot of sense, but it won't change until then. So we're sort of stuck with what we have. Do I expect Antonio Callaway to be any different, any better than Josh Gordon? Not really. I think the big difference is with Josh Gordon, he's a way more talented player, right? Just put all of it aside. Who would you rather have if you have to have a pass? You want the guy who runs a 4.3 at 6'4" and 230 pounds, and he can jump, all out of the stadium. Yep. So Josh Gordon's going to still get some chances and stuff. And Antonio Callaway, he's not that talented. He's 5'11". He's fast, but he's not the game breaker that Josh Gordon is. And the other thing I think that might be different this time around, it just is just wishful thinking on my part maybe, but Eric alluded to this a little bit, but I'll give you some more names besides just Miles Austin. Corey Coleman, Greg Little, Ricardo Lewis. The best guy he probably had was Terrell Pryor in terms of wide receiver talent, and that's a quarterback. Andrew Hawkins. There were guys that weren't all that great, to be honest. Andrew Hawkins could play a little, but man, next to Josh Gordon, Josh Gordon comes back from suspension. Here's your starting role. I think they tried to bench him one time and he still ended up starting somehow. That might be wrong, but and you compare that to Odell Beckham Jr., Jarvis Landry, Jalen Strong, Hollywood Higgins, the entire New World Order. They're way better. And so when this dude comes back, he's not going to play right away. He might not ever see the field with those guys. And you throw in somebody like Sheehy who can return punts, who can give you something that Antonio Callaway doesn't, which is a contribution on the special teams. And I don't know for certain that Antonio Callaway will have a spot on this team. This is his second strike. He got popped for what was he doing, Eric, last year? And
he just had marijuana in his car, and he got pulled up for speeding, and charges were dropped. But if I can recollect, I thought that you get like a freebie in the NFL of failing a drug test. Then when you get in the 4-game suspension, that's literally your second chance. Right. So this would be his third chance already.
Yeah, and he had an excuse that the car was shipped up to him and that his friends were using the car without his knowledge. And it's like,
of course.
Okay.
And he came into the NFL with a diluted sample urine test. So that's like how he got on the radar of all this stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
So I don't have a whole lot of confidence. I really don't in Callaway. It's too bad. He gives something to the offense that I think it needs, which is somebody that is always going to be single covered because you have to cover Beckham and Jarvis. You have to, even Njoku could demand a linebacker with a safety helping him down the seam. And so this guy's going to be single covered and he can fly. And when you have that combination, you've got a chance at least once or twice a game to hit a big play. And it would sure be nice to have that. We had that last year with Brashard Perriman, if we remember. There were a couple times that he got open deep because they were so focused on some of the other players. And so it would be nice to have something like that. You had with Odell Beckham Jr., obviously. He's a speedster. He can take the top off too, but he's already getting double teamed. So I'd sure like to have him. I'd like for him to come back and be able to play this year, and all's well that ends well. But yeah, I mean, as Browns fans, we're going to be pretty skeptical of anything like this until somebody shows us that they can actually turn the page and get right. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does, but I am not confident in his ability to play in the NFL at this point.
So we'd love to see Callaway stay out there. Probably won't see him in preseason. Might not see him for a couple games to start out the regular season. But what do we want to see? The Browns are going to be playing the Colts this weekend. Probably not going to see Andrew Luck. Andrew Luck's battling some injury issues. But as far as on our side, it's probably the second most important game of the preseason for what that matters. Drew, what are you looking for in this preseason battle against the Colts?
Yeah, I mean the easy answer is I'm looking for no injuries, right? But everybody's getting what else besides that? So it's tough because they were so good in that first game on offense. So I'm going to be focused a little. I wish Andrew Luck was playing so I could see what the defense has. I think this defense is built really well to stop the pass, and I'd like to see if they can do that against somebody that has more of an established quarterback. They sort of took advantage of a rookie in Washington. And some older veterans that aren't as talented as an Andrew Luck. So I sure would have liked to have seen that. If that's off the table, I'm going to look forward to seeing. Hopefully, the Colts try to establish some sort of running game with Marlon Mack. He had a really good end to the season last year. Exciting young player for them. They're really high on him. They have a pretty good offensive line too. So I'd like to see and especially on the interior, I'd like to see Sheldon Richardson and Larry Ogunjobi against some of their centers and guards. I think Nelson plays for them as the guard. He's one of the best. So I'd like to see that type of a matchup. That's what I'm going to be looking forward to seeing. That sort of battle, the Browns defensive line against the Colts offensive line. I think that's a bit of strength versus strength. So looking forward to that probably the most.
Eric, what do you think? A couple Buckeyes are going to be out there.
Oh, yeah, sure. That's true. Well, is that a "the" reference of our trademark?
Explain it, man.
You guys, you didn't hear the Ohio State?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
No. I was just thinking Paris Campbell, but
the Ohio State University, Andrew Norwell. Yeah, we got a couple other guys.
Ryan,
what is the story? Tell me.
Yeah,
they trademarked.
They have attempted to trademark the most commonly used word in the English language.
Okay. That's
my
its own news story. It's well worth it, I guess.
My thought is everybody hates him anyway, so you might as well go double down. Double down.
That's just so ridiculous.
And I can't wait until the Browns get to that level.
Just such an excellent heel thing to do, Just.
Yes.
Anyways,
so what are you looking forward to here?
Paris Campbell, I like for him to not run roughshod over the Browns, but I would say I got about 5 things or so outside of the no major injuries. Obviously, I'd like to see some depth building for this offense, whether it's wide receivers. Is it the Jalen Strong? Is it the Derek Willis, to show that they are capable to make plays at a certain time? Not saying you're going to be starting, but if you're needed in a pinch and you need a 3rd and 5, you're going to move the chains. The running backs, is Dalton Hilliard? Is that right?
Dontrell Hilliard. Dalton Castle. It's a ROH wrestler.
Is he going to be relied upon at certain points in the first at least 8 weeks of this season? Offensive line, obviously we know the right guard battle. It looks like Eric Kush is ahead, but who's going to be the backup? Is it going to be Kendall Lamb as left tackle? Is Austin Corbett? What's he going to do? Second thing is Jacoby Brissett is their starting quarterback. Definitely for now. We'll see about the regular season. I like to see the defense somewhat dominate him and put pressure on him, because this isn't 2017 where him and T.Y. Hilton carved up the Cleveland Browns and really embarrassed. Sean Kaiser and everybody else on that team. Most importantly, I would say the Browns have a 4-2-5 defense. That seems to be their base. Mm-hmm. I'm really intrigued to see what's going to happen between Mack Wilson and Jermaine Whitehead. I feel like that's going to be one position. Or maybe if Mack Wilson plays so well, they might kind of transformed to more of a 4-3 defense or a 4-2 where he's just split back a little bit more deeper and take Jermaine Whitehead's spot, because with that 4-2-5, they're having the 3 safeties and he's the 3rd safety in that group. Right now, that's what I'd be leaning to, but obviously I'm just a guy who's talking about sports. I'm not a defensive coordinator, so. But
you could have fooled me, man.
I like to see the development continue for Mac, and those safeties, are they going to be holding their own as well? The battle between those two should be very interesting. The 4th thing is kind of what I already had alluded to, is the returner / last position possible for the receiver is Damon Sheehy Giuseppe. Is he going to make the team? Is he not? I'd like to see him make a play. If he can make plays on offense as well as returning punts, that'd be great. But the spotlight's going to be on. I don't envision the starters be playing too much more than they did last week, so they're probably going to be shuffling a lot of guys. So I'd like to see what he could do. And last but not least, who has the leg up in the kicking competition is Austin.
I don't know why we're laughing. I don't know why.
Austin Seibert, Greg Joseph. I mean, every day it seems like somebody's 4 for 5, somebody's 5 for 5, somebody's 3 for 5. So I really like to see somebody kind of pull ahead in that competition. And frankly, it's what I had said about quarterback competition, unfortunately, many years ago. I don't care who wins as long as they're good. Unfortunately for Browns fans,
they weren't.
Browns quarterbacks were not good. The kicker, I hope one of them can stick. But like I said, yeah, whoever works out, let's hit the ground running and be the guy of the future.
All right, so Colts Browns Saturday night. Be checking that out. But probably a little bit more heated up right now is the race between the Twins and the Indians. At last glance, we saw the Twins lost right before we recorded this, so it's a half-game lead for the Twins. Indians catching up on them. I think everyone should be watching those games. Those are the most important games right now in this pennant race. But the other news that's going alongside the Indians is the rehab stints of Corey Kluber and Carlos Carrasco. Both guys have made some pitching appearances in the minor leagues to get back in shape and get ready for the stretch run, possibly a postseason run. And what has me thinking, we've had some really good pitching. We did lose Bauer, but we have Kluber and Carrasco. I don't know how many pitchers we will really need. We'll probably just need 3, maybe 4 pitchers. But if you guys would have to take a guess, based on their injuries, based on how they started the season, based on what we're going to see here at the end of the season, who are you going to have more confidence in as this season comes to a close? Is it Corey Kluber or is it Carlos Carrasco? Eric, let's start with you.
Well, we'll go pitcher by pitcher. We'll start with Carrasco, who's 4-6 with a 4.98 ERA this season. He's 32 years old, so he's in the prime of his career, kind of tailing off a little bit, which is still younger than all of us. He last played. To give you some perspective, so his last game was May 30th. I looked up guys who had played after diagnosed with leukemia. The only one I could find is Danny Thompson, who played in 1973. He was a shortstop, and he played another 3 years later, and that's where we can stop talking about him because it didn't go well for him after that. So it has been done. So that's a positive. Another guy who was not leukemia, but I'm sure we all remember growing up much later in the 90s is Eric Davis, who had colon cancer, played for the Reds, came back with the Orioles, and had one of his better years actually when he came back. Granted, that's a position player, so it has been done before. It still kind of worries me, but if he can make a recovery, great. Other side of the coin, Kluber, he's 2-3, 5.80 ERA. He's 33 years old. Around the same, almost same situation as Carrasco, not as good numbers, I guess. His last game was May 1st. Two guys that I could think of that had broken arms are both as a result of throwing pitches. So it makes him feel a little bit better. Tom Browning for the Reds back in 1994 broke his arm while throwing a pitch, came back, played 2 games, and called it a career. Tony Saunders played for the Rays. His arm kind of broke mid-pitch, and that was all she wrote, unfortunately. So I guess what Kluber has going for him is he had a comebacker. It was kind of a fluke thing where if his arm didn't just shatter mid-pitch, yeah, I think that'd be a lot more concerning. You go back to the 2016 season where it was actually Carrasco that had the comebacker, I think broke his thumb or one of his fingers, and he was not able to pitch in the playoffs. So it's the comebacker that makes it feel a little bit better. All that said, the fact that we had a pitcher that could go with the comebacker, I'm going to take Kluber. If Carrasco comes back, more power to him. But I'm going to take a guy that has 2 Cy Youngs from all intents and purposes, and also I think that fluke thing is going to be set itself straight, and he's going to be a guy that I would think we can rely upon at least 1 start, maybe 2 starts in the playoffs.
Okay, let me take this in a different direction here, Drew. With Eric's history lesson that he gave us here.
Yes,
this has inspired me. So,
okay,
all right. So we've got Carlos Carrasco.
If you say we lost Bauer again, I'm walking off this podcast.
So we've got Carlos Carrasco coming back from a cancer, and we will compare him to Roman Reigns, who has come back from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And has had an incredible comeback.
Just wonderful.
He's starring in the new Hobbs and Shaw with his cousin, The Rock. Awesome comeback for Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
And coming back from cancer for Roman Reigns. Can Carlos Carrasco touch what Roman Reigns has done on the wrestling environment?
Wow. Really trying to make it up on the spot here. I was going to talk about how Kluber had like 6 excellent starts in the postseason and all this stuff. Can Carlos Carrasco on the mound match what Roman Reigns has done in the wrestling ring, both recovering from a bout of cancer? What a great question. You only get this kind of analysis here on the I Still Believe in Cleveland podcast. I am going to say no. I mean Roman Reigns was even before this thing happened. He still had a big push. He was still a champion. He was, I think it was Universal Champion even, but he was certainly competing against Brock Lesnar, against John Cena. He was a headliner in all, in intents and purposes of the word. He was somebody that the fans hated, but was still supposed to be a good guy. And they should have turned him heel sooner, but you can't now, right? Everybody loves a comeback story. And so now, I think he has a really good place as, the guy who should hopefully replace John Cena as the guy that the kids like and the adults hate. And it's going to be a great career, hopefully, for Roman Reigns. And I'm very excited for him. And I don't think Carlos Carrasco will ever become the pitcher version of a Universal Champion headliner. It's tough. You're talking about somebody who would have to be competing for a Cy Young type of a season, right? And he doesn't have to win it necessarily to match what Roman has done post his bout with it, but he would have to come back stronger than he was and really better than he was even before he was diagnosed. So if I had to pick, do I think Carlos Carrasco can approach Roman Reigns-esque bout with cancer return? Unfortunately, I'm going to have to say excellent question.
We've set the blue map, or the blueprint. The blue map. I'm sorry. We've set the blueprint. Carlos Carrasco, World Series MVP, darling of baseball, incredible story. Today's show, he's going to be on every morning talk show, nighttime talk show. Carlos Carrasco, just the World Series MVP, World Series championship for the Indians. You will surpass what Roman Reigns has done.
If that happens, I'll put a picture right up here on my new wall here for of Carlos Carrasco elbow dropping Roman Reigns off the top rope.
I'll double down on Drew's Dylan Windler bet, and I'll buy a Carlos Carrasco jersey for that.
Okay, there you go.
This is gonna make a good picture. All right, so all this wrestling talk, let's move into our final promo. We've got another interesting one here. One, I think I'm missing a former Akron person, LeBron James. He is haunting my Instagram with Taco Tuesday and lighting the internet on fire with just like him hanging out with his family or him with the LeBron James Foundation, and just Taco Tuesday has become its own thing. His incredible character, and it's helpful for him leading into Space Jam. But as Cleveland fans, we need to move past this. We need to figure out what is the next player that we can rely upon that gives us that, that awesome internet content, who can replace Taco Tuesday. What is that next internet meme that can be generated by a Cleveland player? Drew, let's kick it off with you. Do you have any ideas here for new Cleveland memes or puns?
The easiest answer of all time, if we could go back about 10 days, Bauer outage, bacon slider Sundays. He throws a slider. It's great. It just rolls off the tongue. Bauer outage, bacon sliders Sundays. You eat it while you watch the Browns dominate. I love that. The other one that I was kicking around in my head was of course Windler's Walleye Wednesday. You enjoy a good fish, an excellent source of protein on Wednesday, while giving a hat tip to the greatest NBA star that the world has ever known, Dylan Windler. So those are the first two that really came to my mind. All this talk about Callaway, I tried to put together Callaway and Gordon present Let's Get Bakered, but I'm not sure that works with a food thing, right? Because you could eat anything at that point. So those were the three, but Bauer outage, bacon slider Sundays is the one that I'm going with. We'll see what the King of Puns has to say about this.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
I'm not, you head off with me for a reason. Hit me with the correct answer.
All right, King of Puns, what do you got?
Well, I'm going to start out with two just to warm things up that are non-Cleveland sports.
You're ready for something here. Listen up, sports fans. This is why you tune in.
I like French Fridays. Oh, Frydays. Or Saturn days, where onion rings, because Saturn has rings, you could have 25 or 50 cent rings at the restaurant. Now let's go to the Cleveland genre and go to Whitehead Wednesdays, where he's number 35, Jermaine Whitehead. So if you're 35 and over, you get $1 off your meal. Get on Mayfield. Get on Mayfield Mondays. Every meal $6.
Oh,
that
sure.
sounds good.
Oh, okay.
Macaroni Mondays.
Bam, there it is.
Mac Wilson, yes, of course. Kendall Lamb chops. That sounds pretty good. Kendall Lamb. Who doesn't love a second string left tackle? That's kind of all I got for Browns. I have some other ones. So we're going to go with those because why not? Who doesn't love an Australian meat pie? You could talk about the Thunder Down Under Thursdays because, that's a thing. And
that is a thing.
Sushi Sundays and steak and sauerkraut Saturdays. And I believe that's all I got for that. I had to obviously distance myself from Tuesdays, and I used the other 6 days, hopefully well. So, a couple things tossed around. You can get guys in the door, $1 off, $6 meals. Those are some good options. I'm not going to lie.
What was the restaurant that Romeo Crennel was sponsoring back in the day? Was that
was it Mr. Hero?
Or was it Denny's?
He seems like a Denny's guy, man. If not, let's just roll with it.
Yeah. A Grand Slam breakfast.
That's what the Baker one was sounding about. Okay, I've got a couple here. So based on Colin Sexton's time in Alabama. We've got Friday green tomatoes.
Nice.
I can't figure out which one's going to be worse, but I'll go with Tristan Thompson playing on his Canadian roots, and we're going to have Maple Leaf Mondays. Everyone gets free coffee at Tim Hortons.
There you go.
Okay.
And let's cut it off there because I don't think we're going to replace Taco Tuesday.
Just let Eric just do all of it.
This was a valiant effort.
Yeah, I should have expanded my my horizon past the Browns, kind of gone with the other two sports, but that's what I was thinking.
I had no wine until Wednesday for Kevin Love.
I don't mind that. That's not bad. You combine that with Windler's Walleye Wednesday, and you get yourself some fish and some wine.
Why don't you have Windler's List? Come.
But that's enough for dad humor. Let's finish this episode before we get ourselves in trouble or more trouble. So thank you guys for joining. We will see what puns we come up with next week. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Go Browns.